Good evening there, everybody. What is happening? Hopefully, you all are having a wonderful day today. So, for those of you that watched the NFC Championship yesterday, you know that the Green Bay Packers and Tampa Bay Buccaneers faced off, and that the Green Bay Packers ended up coming up short in their own home stadium at Lambeau Field. Well, Skip Bayless and Shannon Undisputed are going to talk about this, and they're going to talk about how it affected both Tom Brady's and Aaron Rodgers' legacy. Should be very interesting. Let's get into it.
After winning a Super Bowl in his third season as a starter, Aaron Rodgers has yet to return to the big game. Yesterday's loss to the Buccaneers was Rodgers' fourth NFC Championship loss in a row and his first at home that he so wanted. He has lost all four by an average of nearly 30.
And on that play, it did look like there was pass interference because when you watch a replay, if you watched the game yesterday, there was a little bit of a tug on the guy's shoulder. But that one was much harder to see than the last play that happened between Tampa Bay and Green Bay, where there was clear pass interference by King on the receiver. And of course, my friend who's a major Green Bay Packers fan and a couple of others, I've seen many other Green Bay Packers fans say that it was rigged and overall the referees and all this other stuff. No. And bottom line is this. It was a pretty fairly ref game. Was there some calls that they missed? Sure. But overall, when it comes down to it, that last play was pass interference. It is what it is.
15 points. So, Shannon, did yesterday's game damage his legacy?
It did.
Yes, it did. And Shannon, I'm very glad to hear you say that. Because Shannon, I don't know what the fuck Shannon was saying before this game happened. This guy was saying if Aaron Rodgers wins this game, it'll help his GOAT case and all this other stuff. I mean, it'll help his case overall for being a greater player. But Aaron Rodgers it wouldn't help his GOAT case because Aaron Rodgers doesn't have a GOAT case. Aaron Rodgers is not one of the greatest of all time. There are two quarterbacks that you could debate as the greatest quarterback of all time. And that's Joe Montana and Tom Brady. And most likely it's Tom Brady. It is what it is. Especially if he were to win again this year. Now, if Tom Brady were to win again this year, not only would Tom Brady be the greatest quarterback of all time, hands down, in my opinion, if he were to win again this year, he would be the greatest football player of all time. Most likely hands down. I mean, that would mean, what, 7 championships? 3 MVPs? On 2 separate franchises. I mean, that's just, wow. That's crazy. But it is what it is. Anyway.
It was a home championship game, something that he sought, he talked about, he wanted. Sitting on the sideline in Atlanta, he and Jordy Nelson, he says, we got to get one of these things at our place. Jordy's not there, but Aaron got this at his place. They wanted home field. They got it.
He didn't have Jordy, but he did have Devontae Adams. He had a decent O-line, as he always has. He also had a decent running back. He had a decent defense. There was no time like the present to win for Aaron Rodgers, and he fell short. All right, so it is what it is. This is probably the biggest game of Aaron Rodgers' whole entire career when you talk about it, because Aaron Rodgers, he had home field advantage. It was in Lambeau Field, which is always supposed to be a major advantage when it comes down to it. You could argue that he had the, better team. He certainly had the more healthier team when it came down to it. And on top of that, once again, it was in Lambeau Field. But one has to ask, if Aaron Rodgers is nearly as impactful as many people try to make him out to be, why is this the first time ever that the NFC Championship is being held in Lambeau Field? Why does no one ever ask these questions? Because to be quite honest with you, Aaron Rodgers is nowhere near as impactful as many people try to make him out to be. It is what it is.
They wanted someone to come to Lambeau Field in January, cold weather, inclement weather. It wasn't as bad as it could have been, but it was their kind of weather. And as I said before, I believe Aaron played good, but he didn't play great in the moments that he needed to be great. And Skip,
which means they didn't play great. Take a look at Deontay Wilder versus Luis Ortiz, and a certain amount of people overall are not going to know what I mean by this. But there's a difference between overall making less mistakes. Well, what I'll say is this. A certain amount of people are going to take a look at the stats, and they're going to say, well, Aaron Rodgers, he was more impressive than Tom Brady because he threw 3 touchdowns and only 1 interception, when it came down to it. And Tom Brady threw 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. They're going to say that. But when you take a look at which quarterback actually came up bigger in the game, it was Tom Brady. And there really is no debate about that, because when Tom Brady needed to throw the certain plays, when he needed overall to up certain drives, it happened. and he got the points on the board. Aaron Rodgers has noticeably fallen short when he's needed to put certain drives to work, when he's needed overall to put points up on the board in big games. Right, especially when they're trailing at halftime. It is what it is. It's whatever. But when it comes down to the overall, Aaron Rodgers had a multitude of drives to try and get the ball in the end zone in the fourth quarter, and he failed on each drive. So it is what it is. At least, I believe in the second half of that fourth quarter. But anyway.
Sometimes that's the difference. Sometimes a great player can...
So when you take a look at it, once again, just to finish my comparison, when we talk about Deontay Wilder and Luis Ortiz, you can say Aaron Rodgers, for example, when we talk about Tom Brady, is more defensively responsible because he doesn't throw as many interceptions. But when it comes down to it, one thing that Tom Brady does make sure of is that his offense, he makes sure that it counts. Now, both Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady had only 3 touchdowns, but Tom Brady also led them to, I believe, at least a couple of field goals. And when it came down to it, Tom Brady usually just got it up the field a little bit further. It reminded me a little bit of Luis Ortiz versus Deontay Wilder. Many people would debate that Luis Ortiz is the more talented fighter than Deontay Wilder, that he's more defensively responsible. But the thing is with Deontay Wilder, every time he lands a punch, he makes the punch count. And he was able to win that fight by knocking Luis Ortiz out, within 7 rounds in the rematch. And also, I believe, 10 rounds in the first fight. So some people aren't going to understand my comparison there. But that's the reason why I compared it overall to a very defensive boxer that might lose the fight because he doesn't make his offense count as much as the other fighter that he's facing. That's what this reminded me of. And that's exactly what happened. Aaron Rodgers did not capitalize when he needed to. And he's had a history of not being able to capitalize when he has needed to in big games. But it is what it is.
Have a really bad game, but in big moments, that's what Tom Brady has done. Tom Brady, in every game, his playoff game, he hasn't always been great. But more times than not, in the big moments when he needs to be great, that's when he can call upon it. That's when he can summon that greatness. And that's what the really good...
And that's what championships and postseason success is for. You have certain people... I have a friend overall trying to argue that Peyton Manning is above Joe Montana and LeBron James is above Michael Jordan. No. There's a reason why they have championships. There's a reason overall why they have postseason success. Now, you can't make that case in point for everybody, but when you have 2 players, for example, that are statistically great, then we have to say, okay, well, how successful were you? When it comes down to it. When we take a look at Brady versus Rodgers, it's not even close. Also take a look at Joe Montana versus Peyton Manning, because Joe Montana was the greatest statistical quarterback of his day. He also was the greatest winning quarterback of his day. When we take a look at Peyton Manning, you could debate was the greatest statistical quarterback of his day. But when it came down to it, he certainly was not the most successful. And a big part of the reason why is because when it mattered most in the postseason, he would not end up winning nearly as much as he should have. And that's the bottom line. That's why I can never put Peyton Manning above Joe Montana, because you had pretty much the same amount of opportunities to win as many Super Bowls as Joe Montana. Yeah, you won half. All right, Joe Montana was just much better in the postseason than Peyton Manning ever was, at least for his time. And it really wasn't that close. But anyway, Joe Montana went on a run to where I believe he had 11 touchdowns and 0 interceptions one postseason run. He was phenomenal. And you have a certain amount of people saying that he had a great roster. Keep in mind, Joe Montana won, I believe, 1 or 2 Super Bowls without Jerry Rice, before Jerry Rice even got there. But anyway.
Can do. And Aaron had an opportunity. He needed to cash one of those, Skip, one of those turnovers. And maybe, there's no guarantee, we could be having the same conversation even if he cashed. But we'll never know. I believe it did. Because if he lost 4 straight NFC championship games, that's 4. He's the first quarterback to ever do that. And he's like, I don't really know what else I can do. I throw 48-5, I get home field, and for the most part, Skip, I thought his defense played well, especially in the second half. They gave you...
By the time you give that defense credit, because what do we always usually hear out of Aaron Rodgers fanboys' mouth? Oh, the defense was horrible. Aaron Rodgers, and I asked one of my friends, I said, well, there's a reason. I told one of my friends, I said, I do believe Aaron Rodgers is overrated, because he says, well, I'm surprised that you like Patrick Mahomes, but you hate Aaron Rodgers. I don't hate Aaron Rodgers. I speak the truth on Aaron Rodgers, is that Aaron Rodgers is very overrated, because he is. it is what it is. I don't see, it's not necessarily the skill set. It's the fact that his impact is just majorly overrated. Even when you take a look at Patrick Mahomes these 3 seasons, Aaron Rodgers has never had that consistent of impact on his teams. People might think that that's insane, but there's a reason why Patrick Mahomes, this year already has a second Super Bowl appearance, and Aaron Rodgers has never had a second Super Bowl appearance. This is the first time ever that he's had the advantage of Lambeau Field in the NFC Championship. Why is that? Because it's not like Aaron Rodgers overall was in this monstrous division. It's not like overall he was Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints, where the Carolina Panthers contended for a certain amount of years. The Atlanta Falcons were good here and there, So it's like he was there when the Vikings were. They let's say they were decent for about 5 years. So they were their biggest threat. The Bears most of the times were trash, and the Lions were an absolute travesty. So it is what it is. Why has Aaron Rodgers never had the advantage of Lambeau Field, besides this year, this whole 10 years, But it is what it is.
Every opportunity to win this game, Aaron, and you didn't.
And what my friend replied with overall is that, well, that's more representative of the Packers being trapped. Well, no, not really. Because the Packers really are not nearly as bad as many Packers fans will try to make it out to be to protect Aaron Rodgers' legacy. The truth is that Aaron Rodgers is just nowhere near as great as many people try to allege that he is. That's the bottom line.
Come up. You didn't make the plays that you needed to make in the moments that you needed to make them in. So I do believe his legacy took a ding with this one.
A major ding. Not just a ding, a huge ass dent. Anyway.
I agree, but I'm going to stand on what I've said to you for 4 years on this show. Given the fact that some people try to make the case that Aaron Rodgers is better than Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers showed once again yesterday why he is the most overhyped, overrated quarterback in the history of the National Football.
I agree with you, Skip, and a certain amount of people think that that's a very inflammatory statement. It really depends on, I guess that is an inflammatory statement, but what I mean overall is that some people might think that that's an inappropriate statement. I don't think that that's an inappropriate statement at all. He is the most overrated quarterback in the NFL's history. And a certain amount of people think Skip Bayless is just hating. Listen, a certain amount of the times you can argue that he is hating on Aaron Rodgers or LeBron James, but Skip Bayless does speak a certain amount of the truth on LeBron James and Aaron Rodgers. He is correct. Aaron Rodgers is the most overrated quarterback in the NFL's history. And a certain amount of people would disagree. One of my friends was arguing with me, and he said, well, I think it's Joe Namath. Well, I don't think it is Joe Namath. I think it's still Aaron Rodgers. The reason why I say that is because I don't usually see Joe Namath ranked in the top 10 or top 20. Like, not even in the top 20. So, it is what it is. I see Aaron Rodgers on some lists ranked in the top 5. Like, that's how ridiculous his rankings get. And he is not debatably in the top 5.
League, and it ain't even close. I will give you. You say he's a transcendent thrower of the football, greatest thrower of the football ever.
Aaron Rodgers is the most talented, accurate thrower that I've ever seen. But when it comes down to it, does that mean that he's greater than Tom Brady or greater than a certain amount of these other quarterbacks? If they're similarly accomplished, then sure. Then we take a look at accomplishments, then we take a look at talent, and we break it all down. That's cool. Like, if you want to argue him versus Drew Brees, yeah, Aaron Rodgers is probably greater than Drew Brees, because when we take a look at impact, they're around the same level, and when you take a look overall at talent, Aaron Rodgers beats him in that. So, okay, yeah, Aaron Rodgers over Drew Brees. No problem with that. Him versus Dan Marino, you could argue that one. Him versus Drew Brees, you could argue. Him versus Steve Young, you could argue. But that's the class that he's in. And maybe even Russell Wilson as well. Although I'd claim that he's greater than Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is in that class as well. And there's a very similar trait with Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, because you have a certain amount of these people overall that argue that all Aaron Rodgers needs is an average defense, and overall he's going to make the Super Bowl. That's never been true. In fact, the only years that Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers have ever even made the Super Bowl is when they probably had the best all-around roster in the whole entire NFL league. But it is what it is.
The coolest looking thrower of the football ever, but it's made for regular seasons, not playoff runs. He did pull off one.
I'll give Aaron Rodgers credit. He made 4 NFC championships in a row, but he was not able to win them.
wild card road playoff run. I got to give you that. It was long ago in a galaxy far away. It was 10 years ago.
And this was probably, once again, the biggest game of Aaron Rodgers' career. You had home field advantage. You were at a better point in your career than Tom Brady. You needed to win this game. You really, 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 really badly needed to win this game. But anyway. Because the other years, you were able to get away with the defense's excuses. I mean, I never overall gave Aaron Rodgers those excuses, but the media was going to. This year, there was going to be no excuse. So this took a bit. This didn't just take a little bit of a hit on Aaron Rodgers' legacy. It took a humongous hit on his legacy.
He did beat the Steelers in the Super Bowl, and I will give you that. But since then, he's 7-8 in the postseason. And as you point out, he's now 1-4 in championship games. And the first one, was really shaky because Jay Cutler couldn't go in the second half on a sprained knee. Sat on the bicycle at Soldier Field. They were the higher seed, obviously. And here came Caleb Haney and nearly pulled off winning the game against Aaron Rodgers, who really stunk in the second half of that game against Brian Urlacher and a very good Chicago defense.
When we deal with these great players.
Well, what I'll say is this. Injuries happen, and I'll give Aaron Rodgers credit for winning that game. I was not watching football at that time, really. The first year I really started watching football was around 2013. So.
Years, and they get there to a championship games and get to the Super Bowl at such an early age. We just think, man, they're going to do this thing for a long, long time. We saw Brady.
I agree, and it's the same thing with Patrick Mahomes, and that's why one of my friends, he's kind of critical of Patrick Mahomes. He's saying, well, that's the reason why I think the Buccaneers are going to beat the Chiefs, and overall, that's why I think that he might burn out. Well, Patrick Mahomes is not the same as Aaron Rodgers. He's very similarly talented to Aaron Rodgers. In fact, he plays a lot like Aaron Rodgers, but he just comes up way bigger in the bigger moments than Aaron Rodgers ever has consistently. I mean, once again, that's why Patrick Mahomes already has a second Super Bowl appearance now. It is what it is. All right, so it's whatever. But Patrick Mahomes, in my opinion, most likely will go down as a greater quarterback than Aaron Rodgers.
Like, man, Brady, dude's 22, 23, and he's already been there twice.
Yep.
You're saying that about Mahomes. We thought the very same thing about Rodgers, Skip. Here it is his third year starting, and he's in the Super Bowl. We're like,
yeah, but Mahomes has actually shown results, like consistent results. Rodgers never has. And that's really my problem. A certain amount of people are going to be like, what are you talking about? He has 3 MVPs and all this other stuff. Once again, even Russell Wilson has more Super Bowl appearances than Aaron Rodgers. Now, does that always make you greater? No. But do I believe that Patrick Mahomes is going to end up greater than Aaron Rodgers? Yeah, personally, I do. If he stays on track. But anyway.
man.
In that Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl, I'm probably going to pick the Kansas City Chiefs, but it's it's really a coin toss for me. That Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense is really good at capitalizing on your mistakes. The offense is very good at capitalizing on offense or getting the ball into the end zone. But that Kansas City Chiefs offense, boy, and their defense ain't bad either. But that offense is monstrous. You're talking about overall that offense might be the best offense of the 2010s. I mean, you have Patrick Mahomes, who is the best quarterback of right now, Travis Kelce, who is the best tight end of right now, and you also have Tyreek Hill, who's one of the best wide receivers right now. Some would debate the best wide receiver in the league. It is what it is.
Right? I got it.
Of course, maybe just this season because Julio Jones was hurt in a certain amount of other things. Some would debate Devontae Adams as well, but Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams are on a very similar level. Anyway.
But when you look at the 7 wins since the Super Bowl, it was, it was the Dez Cauditt game. Remember that?
Yeah.
It was Joe Webb playing quarterback for the Vikings. It was Kirk Cousins at Washington. It was the Odell boat trip game at Lambeau. Really? Then it was the Aaron Donald game just recently where he couldn't go. And again, they did beat last year's Seattle at Lambeau. But that was the same Seattle team that had lost at Dallas in a playoff game the previous year.
And that's proof right there that Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks, they do not show up. Russell Wilson also, like Aaron Rodgers, does not show up as big as you need him to in playoff games. That being said, Russell Wilson was actually underrated for a certain amount of his career. Now he's being... Well, I'm not going to say overrated. I don't think that'd be appropriate right now because people, I think, are ranking him correctly. He's probably a top 3 quarterback of right now. Aaron Rodgers, of course, you have to put him above Russell Wilson for this season. But when it comes down to the overall, he's probably within the top 3 right now. I'd place him at 3rd. When it comes to debatably. Maybe you could put Josh Allen in this season ahead of him just by a little bit, but top 4, top 5, so for sure. Around there. But anyway.
And lost at home to the Rams this year.
Right.
So I'm not impressed with even the 7 wins. And yet...
I give credit to everybody no matter who they win against. So I give you credit for the 7 wins. But a 7-8 playoff record is not is not a great playoff record.
In the end, he went up against the real GOAT twice this year, and he got outplayed twice. So to me, I hope we can put to rest till death do us part, until next year, that Aaron Rodgers...
Well, let me tell you something. Unless Aaron Rodgers wins at least 4 Super Bowls, at minimum 3, I'm never going to see that as a conversation. It is what it is.
It's better than Tom Brady because it's just laughable blasphemy, as you saw on full display yesterday.
Let me ask you a question. So what happens if Mahomes beat Brady? Is he not a GOAT?
Are you going to make the case?
That's going to be interesting because Patrick Mahomes might be the most talented quarterback that I've personally ever seen. So that's going to be very, very interesting. Now, if he beats Brady in the Super Bowl, is he going to be the greatest of all time? In my opinion, obviously not, because he's going to have to win a certain amount of more Super Bowls. But it would be a great start. I tell you what, I really don't know who to pick in the Super Bowl. It's going to be great. I'm picking the Kansas City Chiefs just by a smidge, just because that offense is monstrous. But I really don't know.
Well, that's not the question at hand right now. We should save that because we got 2 weeks of that. And I'm sure you will build up. And by 2 weeks from today, you will tell me that Patrick Mahomes is the GOAT, right? He might be the GOAT. He's won 1 Super Bowl with a late third-quarter interception and an early fourth-quarter.
And it'll be interesting to see how Patrick Mahomes performs in that Super Bowl because last year, and I do believe he was fully healthy in the Super Bowl last year, he did not look overly impressive. He overall looked a little bit scared. He looked a little bit tentative. He threw interceptions that I didn't usually see him throw. In fact, that was the only game, I believe, in the postseason last year that he actually threw interceptions. So we're going to have to see how Patrick Mahomes overall does in the Super Bowls. Is he a Tom Brady or a Joe Montana? Or is he a Peyton Manning? We'll have to see.
Reception at a time he was down 20.
So in other words, he pulled a Tom Brady. By throwing all them late interceptions and winning the ball game.
Wait a second. He was down 20-10 while both were thrown. Down 20-10.
Skip, you notice how we spot people? In order to make it fair, because people going to say we cheating. So we spot them 24.
Yeah.
We'll spot them 10 and then walk them down.
Well, I got to warn you. This is not Jimmy Garoppolo you're playing in this Super Bowl.
Spot Tom Brady.
It's not Jimmy.
This is the greatest Super Bowl matchup that I see of my lifetime. The last great Super Bowl matchup that I was super excited for was the Seattle Seahawks versus the New England Patriots. It's always great when you get to see an elite quarterback versus an elite quarterback in the Super Bowl, and we're going to get that again in this game.
Garoppolo, because Jimmy missed Emmanuel Sanders right at the goal line with a throw that could have changed.
And when I mean elite, I'm talking about all-time great. I'm not talking about just, for a couple years. I'm not talking because Jared Goff, he doesn't look to me like an all-time great quarterback. He just doesn't. Matt Ryan to me is not an all-time great quarterback, although he's a decent quarterback, but he's not an all-time great quarterback. Russell Wilson is an all-time great quarterback. Patrick Mahomes is going to be an all-time great quarterback. All right? It is what it is. Like Jared Goff and that's not an all-time great quarterback. Nick Foles, not an all-time great quarterback. Now he did do very good in that Super Bowl. They won, but you know what I mean. Just to clarify.
That game changed Patrick Mahomes' legacy.
I mean, you think about it. You had 2 chances in the fourth quarter to take the lead. You had 3 shots inside the 10-yard line to tie the ball game in the fourth quarter. You didn't get it. That's Aaron Rodgers now. Skip, if that's hey, Drew Lock, that's some other quarterback.
And I didn't agree with the call of the coach when he decided to only go for the field goal and not go for the touchdown. But Aaron Rodgers had a couple more drives, I believe, after that. And, not after that, before that. And he still was not able to get the ball down the field. Anyway.
Hey, the moment. That's Aaron Rodgers. Bro, you about to be MVP for the 3rd time.
Well, he can win regular season MVPs like crazy.
And I agree with Rodgers being the regular season MVP. But that's all the MVP is, a regular season award. It is not a postseason award. All right, and that's pretty much for all sports. All right, that's all the MVP is. All right. Well, my same friend that is a Green Bay Packers fan, he's also a major LeBron James fan, and you notice that with a lot of Aaron Rodgers fans and LeBron James fans, they tend to like the same players because really they're two peas in the same pod. It is what it is. But when it comes down to the overall, I wonder overall if he would debate that Patrick Mahomes is really the one that deserves MVP every season, or Tom Brady really is the one that deserves MVP every season, or if he's going to be okay with Aaron Rodgers getting the MVP. Anyway.
But when it comes to pushing the money to the middle of the table, I'll take Brady every time.
You got to cash those in, Skip.
Yep.
It's as simple. It's as simple as that. I want to get overly complicated. It's as simple as that. If you're great in the great moments, you must be great. He wasn't yesterday.
Brady over Rodgers.
I agree.
Jordan over LeBron. Case
Don't do that,
closed.
Skip.
I agree. I agree with both of those.
Here we go. Next question, Jenny.
But what about my homeboy? What about my homeboy?
Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about your...
Patrick Mahomes is going to be the next quarterback that they're going to try and debate over Brady. And I'm sure they'll use many of the LeBron James tactics that they'll try to use, and the Aaron Rodgers and Peyton Manning tactics. We're going to have to see how big Patrick Mahomes comes up in these next few years, because that dude, overall, if he wins, I would not be shocked if he ended up winning 5 Super Bowls. I would not be surprised. Patrick Mahomes looks like he has that much potential. We'll see what happens.
Boy, don't you worry. And speaking of performances yesterday, did Josh Allen help push Mahomes into the Super Bowl? We'll break it down.
Anyways, that's really about it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you all later. And we'll see what happens in the Super Bowl. I can't remember which Super Bowl it is. I can't remember what number. Let's see. I can't remember for the life of me. Maybe like 53. I can't remember. But when it comes down to it, should be interesting. We'll see what happens. It'll be very interesting. I can't wait for the game here in a couple of weeks. But until then, I'll talk to you all later. Have a great day.